Good afternoon, everyone. Make sure this works. Okay, good. My name is Dayan Rodriguez. I'm the Corporate Vice President for Manufacturing and Mobility at Microsoft. I just joined the company about a month ago after spending 20 years on the other side, working as a solution provider, OEM, and even as an operator. So, number one, I want to say thank you. I know I'm the only one, I'm the only thing preventing you from going to dinner or going back to your hotel and relaxing, so thank you for sticking with us. But we're going to make it fun. I'm really excited about this topic. We have a few partners with us, and we're going to talk about AI and how it's actually being implemented right now. And when I say I'm very excited about the opportunity that we have in place, I mean it. For the first, it was 10 years ago when, 10, 12 years ago when digital transformation, the hype began, and everybody was talking about collecting data, analyzing it, and fundamentally transforming the way they do business. However, it was a little bit more challenging at that time to actually realize that vision, to actually execute and make it meaningful so you can actually scale it. Right now, even though the same hype with AI is in place, I can see right away that things are different. We are seeing how customers in my segments are already implementing AI, and they're gaining real value right away. And we can see it end to end, actually, from digital engineering all the way to customer experience. And we can say, one thing that we can see, for example, in this slide is that companies like Volkswagen in the manufacturing side, they have actually partnered with PTC, and they have embedded a AI copilot in order to analyze and generate business requirements for their systems in a fraction of the time that it used to take them. Now think about real transformation. But that's on the digital engineering side. When we move into production, we are seeing companies like Intertek Polymers. For their manufacturing facilities, they're partnering with Side Machine and collecting data in real time from processes, products, and machines in order to make decisions that are actually improving their yield and decreasing inventory. Those are the typical use cases, but now let's keep moving further. We are seeing how Air India has embedded a generative AI copilot within teams in order to allow the support teams that they have in place to analyze different trends in real time and take action to either make sure that the packages that they're transporting are not delayed, or even more important, their customers actually get to the destination on time. Now, things don't stop there. We are all, regardless of the business that we are in, we are all manufacturers. We are creating a product, but the actual product is the experience that you're giving to your customers. And that's how we're seeing how Cemex, which is a building materials manufacturer, is leveraging AI right now to transform the customer experience for their clients. Right now, a buyer that is trying to figure out what type of material to order, they can now leverage their AI tool to not only get information for the material that they're trying to buy, but also get regulatory information in real time. So now, not only are they making the right decision when it comes down to the requirements, but also they are well aware of how this is going to play out according to the regulations of the territory that they need to be at. So without going any further, it is obvious that AI is here to stay. And as we look at data from MIT, we are seeing that 64% of the companies are already evaluating use cases for AI, which is usually the most difficult part. There are so many use cases that you can implement AI on. The most important part is, okay, how do I prioritize it in a way that is meaningful for my company, for my customers, and that they are also scalable and can be implemented at a high scale. 35% of the clients are already implementing AI, as I mentioned on my past slide. And 58% of the CXO is already thinking about the fact that they're going to have to increase expenditure on AI over the next few years. Again, going back to, I know this is moving. Okay. Going back to how AI is helping our customers, it goes end to end, as I mentioned earlier. From designing, in which now we can code faster, we can create requirements faster, we can actually, in real time, get information from our customers and how they're utilizing our products to make design changes based on that information alone. Think about how it speeds up our development cycle, but not only that, now we are actually going to be able to create offerings that are going to be bought. Why? Because in real time, we are seeing how our customers are using that product, and they're providing that feedback. On the build side, now we can utilize AI to increase production. And we are going to increase production because now we are selling a lot more, so obviously we need the production in place. But also we are going to be getting commercial information from the field that is going to tell us, hey, when do we want to increase inventory? What are the markets that we need to serve faster, et cetera. And the most important part, as I mentioned, is also the experience. From operations, in which now we can fulfill our orders a lot faster, but also we can react to what our customers need a lot faster. Without further going more into details, and I was talking about this earlier, 10 years ago, I noticed that the most difficult part was how do I bring everything together? Just the actual business case makes sense, what the potential outcomes make sense, how to actually make it happen was the difficult part. And it wasn't just because the end user didn't want to. It was because once the execution came into play, they realized that they have data in multiple areas, and they weren't able to collect that data. They were in islands of data lakes. Additionally, they have a variety of systems, most of them legacy, from multiple vendors. You weren't able to communicate to them. You needed to build multiple APIs. And not only that, you needed to do all that, but also when you talk about 2, 3, 4 years down the road, you also have to think about how you were going to maintain that. And the more you build around it, the more difficult the operational cost for maintenance was going to be. Obviously, at Microsoft, we have thought about this, and that's why we have the Microsoft Cloud. As you can tell from the graph, we have a set of great products. On their own, these products are top of line, but the key here is, by leveraging the Microsoft Cloud, you have each of these tools available to you, ready to be implemented according to the stage that you are in your digital transformation journey. But most important, now when you're talking about maybe data that you have in a different cloud, data that is coming from multiple systems, multiple ERPs, multiple information systems in the factory floor, now you can actually collect that data and in a very fast period of time, integrate it into the Microsoft Cloud and start creating insights and start transforming your business. I will now want to let our partners talk about how they're actually realizing the Gen AI vision together with Microsoft. But thank you all, and John?
Thanks. Thanks, Dan. My name's John Reed. I work for Dan, and I'm responsible for the solution portfolio for the 6 verticals that we cover. We cover automotive, transportation, travel, discrete manufacturing, process manufacturing, along with high-tech and semiconductor and aerospace. What we wanted to do is take a look at our industry through 3 lenses: how we design products, how we build products and the production processes, and then customer experience and how we operate. So to begin with, we wanted to start with PTC. They've engineered a great portfolio of solutions, and we wanted to spend some time today talking about how they've implemented AI-powered requirements management as part of the software development lifecycle. So with that, I'd like to introduce Ayora Berry, who's been with PTC for 14 years and is responsible for AI product management as part of their product line and is responsible for the innovations we'll talk today. Ayora?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, John. Well, it's great to be here. I'm thrilled to share how Microsoft, Volkswagen Group, and PTC are working together to deliver engineering software powered by AI. At PTC, we work with thousands of manufacturers. And when we ask them, what are your top strategic initiatives, software-driven engineering consistently comes at the top. As manufacturers, oh, nice. Hold on one second. Technical challenges. Yeah. Yeah. I'll be right with you guys in 1 second. I apologize for the delay. No. That's not the deck. Sure. Scroll to the top. Yep, keep going. Thanks for helping. It's further up. Yep. Great. Yeah, we'll start from. Oh.
I want to be my friend. Let's do this.
Further up. Almost there. Okay, we'll start right there. Yeah. All right, we'll start from the top here, just to kick it off. So, as I shared, I'm pumped to be here and talk about the partnership with Microsoft and Volkswagen Group. And at PTC, we work with thousands of manufacturers. And we ask them, what are your top strategic initiatives? Consistently at the top is software-driven engineering. Yeah, it worked. So as manufacturers embed more software in their products to collect sensor data, automate operations, or deliver the end user apps you see in your vehicles and other equipment, more and more complexity is being addressed in their product development process. And when we work with our customers, we ask them what's the best tools to address this need. Codebeamer consistently rises to the top as an application lifecycle management software solution. With Codebeamer, you can define, manage, and validate requirements and tests for the hardware components, as well as those millions of lines of code that are included in the embedded software. Typical manufacturers have around hundreds to thousands of engineers working on these requirements that sometimes for a single product line can include from thousands up to millions of documentation. And with Codebeamer, they can manage that vast amount of data and all the associated workflows, and in some cases achieve up to 40% time savings compared to traditional tools and methods. And what's exciting is we can amplify this value with AI. So let's jump into our Codebeamer Copilot that we worked with Microsoft on and partnered with Volkswagen. To start, we're going to see a requirements engineer importing documents. So the Codebeamer Copilot is working seamlessly in the background to analyze that imported document, an RFP, or a product brief. And then with that, the LLM analyzes those requirements and puts it into the system here. And once the requirements are in the system, they can then analyze for quality by comparing it to industry standards like INCOSE. And as you can see here in the demonstration, there's different things you can look into, such as what are the rules that are violated, what are some tips for improving it so that you can improve the quality of that requirement. Furthermore, the Copilot can suggest rewrites. So taking those issues into account, coming up with a better author requirement, the Copilot provides that answer and then explains the rationale for choosing that content so that the human is in the loop with the AI, can assess the content, and then select whether they want to use that content or not. So in this case, they go forward, they use that requirement quality analysis. Now there's more. So a Codebeamer Copilot can not only do that quality analysis, but they can also search for other requirements in the system. You can index all the requirements and then do a similar search to say, are there similar requirements in the system to say, group them together as required by standards, or you can look for duplicate data. There may be requirements that are exactly the same, and therefore you're increasing the carrying cost of your system to support downstream documentations and processes. In addition to that capability, the Copilot can generate content such as test cases. So for every requirement, you've got to validate that the requirements met its objectives. And so the Copilot can generate those test cases, all the actions and evaluation criteria within the system itself. Another capability that's provided by the Copilot is it can translate content to support the global workforce. So you can see the content, translate it to different languages, and then go execute that with your colleagues across the globe. So those are some of the capabilities that we're delivering in the Codebeamer Copilot. Let's hear from our partner Volkswagen Group on what Codebeamer means for them and the opportunities around AI.
Hi, my name is Robert Kattner. In the Volkswagen Group, I'm responsible for engineering IT. I'm very pleased to share some insights about our collaboration with PTC and Microsoft. The Volkswagen Group was looking for a state-of-the-art ALM solution. In the end, we picked Codebeamer as a class-leading ALM tool. It is an important tool to enable in our group the efficient software development. It ensures that software components are planned, tested, and released for different vehicle projects. Codebeamer is used through the whole Volkswagen Group now, with a growing number of users, and it exceeds each day. The next scope with PTC is now working to adapt new generative AI use cases. We will use Copilot from Microsoft and all these technologies. By having Copilot in the Codebeamer software, it assists us with creating new specification and test cases. It also improves the quality of our requirements by removing duplicates and checking against existing quality standards. And furthermore, it helps our teams to import requirements references from older IT systems. It drives our productivity gains by reducing the time to import, review, and write requirements. In a nutshell, our engineers do their work more efficiently. That's why we are excited about our collaboration with PTC and Microsoft. They provide deep expertise in ALM and AI software. They know our business and also our markets. This collaboration is an important part to future-proof our software development and engineering teams. It really is an exciting space, and we are delighted to be working with PTC and Microsoft on this topic.
Great. So as we continue to develop engineering software powered by AI, we're going to be laser focused on creating value for customers like Volkswagen Group, but also doing this at scale and responsibly. And what's exciting is we have partners like Volkswagen who can give us valuable insights, grounding it towards valuable use cases for our roadmap. And furthermore, we have partners like Microsoft that provide state-of-the-art generative AI technologies. In addition, all the tools and technologies that support scalability and security. So as we go forward, investing into this space, we're excited to work with all the clients and customers in the market to invest in this space and dive deeper into engineering-powered software with AI. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Ayora. That was fantastic. And it's a great example of the innovation that we're driving in product design. Let's spend a few moments talking about production processes and co-innovation work we've done with Rockwell Automation, bringing the innovation of generative AI to factory operators through pre-trained small language models integrated into Rockwell Automation's factory solutions. With that, I'd like to introduce Matt Hansen. He's been with Rockwell for 20 years and is responsible for strategic business management. Matt.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.
All right, thanks everyone. Just a little bit about myself as well. Obviously 20 years at Rockwell Automation. I'm part of our R&D organization, and specifically I'm part of a team focused on autonomy and AI. And what we do in that group is focus with customers on co-innovation and how we can bring partner technologies from Microsoft together with Rockwell solutions to solve their problems. For those of you who may not know who Rockwell is, we're the world's largest pure-play industrial automation and digital transformation provider. Interestingly enough, this week is our largest event as well, called Automation Fair. It's out in Anaheim, California. I had the pleasure of actually coming here to Ignite as opposed to going out to Anaheim. But one of the things that we announced this week is also some of the partnership activities that we're doing with Microsoft around how we're bringing generative AI into our product portfolio. And we'll touch on a couple of those in just a moment. When we look at our customers, obviously our customers are manufacturers. They're organizations that are, producing products, or they're producing the machines that produce those products, right? And so there's a number of challenges that we see, impacting the adoption of AI technology. I think the biggest one is in the center, right? it's really, there's some significant workforce challenges that our customers are facing, right? Lack of skilled employees, high levels of turnover, how do we train these employees to be effective? 10, 15, 20 years ago, it was not uncommon in the manufacturing environment for employees and operators to spend 10, 15, 20, 30 years as a career working in a manufacturing plant, right? And as a result, they'd be able to generate a ton of domain expertise and knowledge on how that machine or how that line or how that plant is supposed to operate. Today, our customers don't have that luxury, right? They have employees that may last for 6 months or 12 months, and so training those employees and getting that domain expertise that you can only learn through experience is a big challenge for those customers. Some of the other areas as well as business cases, right? We've heard it from some of the previous presenters that obviously we have to find the right areas to implement AI that have a positive ROI and deliver value to our customers, right? In the manufacturing environment as well, there's a significant amount of data being generated by the manufacturing process. So our customers are often wondering, what can I do with all that data? How do I leverage it? What kind of insights can I get out of that, right? The other challenge is all around deploying AI. There may be some good use cases, but our customers don't have the knowledge and expertise in terms of how to deploy AI technologies onto their manufacturing environment and how to get the value out of that. And that's where companies like Rockwell Automation partnering with Microsoft can come in and really help these customers. When you think about kind of the journey that Rockwell is on, we really are liking to think that we want to transform from an automation company to a company that help our customers deliver more autonomous outcomes. And now when we talk about autonomy, a lot of people might immediately jump to this being a lights out manufacturing type of approach. That may not be true, right? What we really want to do is talk about how do we help our customers transform systems that they used to have to program, but now maybe they still program, but those systems also can learn as they go. Same thing with adaptation. If they need to change a line or change a manufacturing process, right? That used to be a very manual process. How can we make that so these changes can happen more dynamically? When we think about the workforce implications of this as well, right? There used to be operators and engineers that would support the equipment on a manufacturing plant floor. We still need those roles, but we also now need a data science persona as well. So as you can see, it's going to take some time and it's going to take some investment, but to get to that kind of goal of helping our systems become more autonomous, we're going to need to, again, leverage technologies that Microsoft can bring. So when we think about Rockwell Automation and our portfolio and how we're going to drive the adoption of AI, we'd really like to take a differentiated approach. And some of the things that recently were announced this week between the Rockwell and Microsoft partnership, are a couple of areas on here. But when we think about our portfolio, we think about it in terms of design, operations, and maintenance. And now this is specific to the machine or the manufacturing process, right? So how do I design that machine? How do I run and operate that machine? And how do I maintain that machine during the life cycle of that machine, which may be 10, 15, or 20 years. So there's a couple of things we're doing with Microsoft, and one of them we're actually going to double click on in a moment. But one area is with our FactoryTalk Design Studio tool set. This is the design tools that customers use to develop and deploy automation applications, and we're leveraging Microsoft's generative AI with a copilot to help our customers generate applications and PLC code. Some of the other areas that we're looking at as well is on the maintenance side of things, right? With our FactoryTalk Analytics Guardian AI system. This will allow our customers to get more insights from what's happening on the manufacturing floor to be able to predict when maintenance may be needed or when something may be failing. But the one I'm most excited to talk about today is actually our automation systems and how we can help our automation systems sense, think, and act, in superior ways. And that's what John alluded to, where we're actually taking Microsoft small language models and embedding them in FactoryTalk Optics. What we're doing here is we're able to take those insights that AI is going to generate and bring that directly to the workers and the operators that are running those machines, right? I like to think about this as almost digitizing that domain expertise that I talked about. Instead of having employees with 10, 15, 20 years of experience, we can take all those insights, we can take all those manufacturing SOPs and procedures and knowledge and training. We can train that small language model that's embedded in the operator interface and help make our operators more effective, right? So we can improve, the experience that those operators may have. We can deliver those AI insights. And these small language models make it a lot easier to deploy and train on a manufacturing floor. So with that, let's take a look at a little demo here of kind of how this can actually come together.
Manufacturers are facing unprecedented impacted the number, quality, and tenure of resources they can hire. FactoryTalk Optics from Rockwell Automation is the next generation human-machine interface. It is a software platform that enables you to design and deploy HMI and edge applications from the cloud or locally on your computer. Optics enables easy data access supporting MQTT and OPC UA for industrial edge connectivity. It strengthens operational insights by integrating OT data from disparate sources. Optics converts PLC data structure to a contextualized object-oriented model format, preferred by most information systems. It empowers real-time decision-making by visualizing and analyzing data at the edge to ensure timely actions and optimize processes. And Optics enables edge-to-cloud architectures that distributes OT data for use with IT enterprise software solutions and cloud applications. Through our co-innovation and partnership with Microsoft, Rockwell Automation is able to bring generative AI to factory operators by integrating a pre-trained small language model into FactoryTalk Optics. Here we see an application developed within Optics for a global food and beverage corporation, and specifically for their baking lines. The operator on the plant floor uses this real-time dashboard to interact with the equipment. This small language model has been trained using the customer's manufacturing procedures using guides and training manuals. The dashboard is connected to real-time data from the control platform. This simplifies the learning curve for operators to become effective at delivering higher levels of output and quality. Additionally, this provides operators the insights they need to troubleshoot and resolve issues quickly, something that historically required decades of experience. Now let's show this innovation in practice. One particular scenario could be that my temperature is starting to increase, and you're starting to see that my system is reacting to that change in temperature. My yield has been affected, my OEE has been affected, and all the metrics and KPIs that I am monitoring in my dashboard, they're starting to show some unfavorable results based on the oven temperature being too high. And you can see that I've got an issue in my baking system. What I want to do is ask the model, what happens if the temperature is too high? So I can submit my question, and the model returns back the possibilities of having a high temperature. Uneven baking, high temperature can cause the outside of the baked goods to cook too quickly with the inside remain undercooked. This can lead to dense and uneven texture. The reduced footprint of a small language model allows it to be deployed on-premise and on constrained compute devices like industrial PCs used to operate interface applications. By providing operators with intuitive experiences, we can help digitize domain expertise. By integrating AI models into the Optics user interface, workers gain benefits from generative AI without needing to be an expert. The time it takes to train an operator on this intuitive implementation is low, and workers can deliver higher levels of output faster than ever before. This is one way Rockwell delivers differentiation in the adoption of industrial AI to help create automation systems that sense, think, and act in superior ways.
Perfect. So hopefully that gave you, some insights into some of the integration that we've been doing, leveraging technology from Microsoft with our FactoryTalk Optics platform to help, make our operators, more effective, bring those, insights to them, and help digitize that domain expertise that's just lacking. So with that, if you've got any more questions about what we're doing Rockwell Automation-wise, FactoryTalk Optics-wise, please feel free to reach out to us at that email address, or otherwise, find me afterwards if you want to have any other discussions. So thank you so much for the time. Really appreciate it.
Hi, I'm Kaivan Karimi. I'm the partner strategy lead focused on mobility at Microsoft, mobility motions. Mobility includes automotive, transportation, logistics, travel, and hospitality. If we apply the lenses of customer experience and using a co-pilot for customer experience, and the third pillar that Dayan explained, which was operations, we'd like to show you how our partner Amadeus applied this for their tool, which is called Citric, which, by the way, that platform is what we use in Microsoft for booking trips, for planning trips, booking trips, and communications. And for that, I'd like to introduce Julián Gil, who is visiting us from Madrid, Amadeus headquarters, to go through that for us. Please, Julián.
Thanks, Kaivan. This is the, okay. Well, thank you, everyone. And I'm aware that as the third speaker in the 5 p.m. slot, I know what you're all thinking. He's the last thing standing between me and happy hour, right? Well, you know, beer clock notwithstanding, let's try to have some fun with this. So let's just, you know, breaking the ice a little bit. I'm going to guess most of you have Microsoft Teams in your workplace as how you communicate with each other as a collaboration software. I mean, you should. We're all kind of Microsoft groupies here, right? Okay, how many of you are actually from Chicago? One hand raised. Okay, I'm not, but I went to grad school in Hyde Park, so this sort of feels like home. Okay, so the rest of you are not from Chicago. How many of you flew in? Should be most hands. Okay, yeah, that makes sense. And so now the question is, you flew in, you're on Teams. Did you book that flight in Teams? Okay. This is something to work on, right? So, by the way, I'm supposed to, that's me there. I'm not in Rockwell, although I really like what Rockwell does. So for us being in Teams and in the Microsoft 365 environment, it's a big deal for us. It's how we really want to work with Microsoft, because I did book my flight and my hotel here right in Teams. And why does that matter? I mean, it does matter because, you know, if you are going to write code, you know, on CodeBeamer from PTC, or if you're going to be rolling out Rockwell automation at a plant, that's what your job is really about, right? And you are talking to all your colleagues about you're planning ahead for that, you're working things out. To have to get out of that to go visit the plant or to come to this event is a distraction, right? So for us, when I say that I booked it in here, this is what it looks like for me.
Amanda kicks off her trip planning with Citric Easy AI Assistant. First up, flight search. She needs to travel to Nice. The assistant finds her 3 best options. If she prefers business class, she'll need a trip purpose. Next, hotel search. The assistant finds her the most suited accommodations. It also helps her find the best route from the airport to the office. Ready to book. She can do it in just a few clicks. With all trip details at hand, she can notify close collaborators, catch up with colleagues, share a transfer, and share her trip details with colleagues. This is Microsoft and Amadeus Citric Easy, changing travel.
So that's the experience. I'll stay here for just a moment. We really think that this has to be something that is not a distraction from the way you work. None of you are really professional travelers. You're not
booking a flight every single day. You do something else. But your work and your organization, it's an intractable part of your organization's existence, being globally distributed in terms of your supplier relationships, your customers, and your colleagues, right? Building a network internally and externally. So historically, it's often felt that when you have to go see people, it's a distraction from what you're doing. But this is to make it much more connected to what you're doing. So we're able to read who you work with most closely, right? Because you may discover that you know you're going to from point A to point B, and you know who you're going to meet in point B. You may not have known that someone else that is in point C, location C, is actually going to be in location B, and you didn't know that, right? Question for you on this. I asked earlier about who's from Chicago and whatnot. How many of you actually have expense statements you're gonna have to submit after this trip? Yeah, come on, this is okay. And how many of you have a boss who isn't always the quickest with approving your statements? I don't have this problem, but you don't have. No one can see your hands. You're not throwing them under the bus. I'm going to guess that not everyone gets it approved that quickly. One of the things for me is I get it approved quickly because, one, my boss is a very considerate guy, but also he gets this notification, in Microsoft Teams that Julián has submitted an expense statement. Do you want to approve it? All he has to do is click that. There's no other app he's going into. And if he has a question about it, I get it right back. There's no back and forth and toggle. It's very quick. So when we think about Gen AI, though, we saw a little bit of that earlier on. But Gen AI in this industry, some of the use cases are ones that are quite easily understood by everyone, and others are a lot less obvious. So for example, we were talking about expense statements. Pretty much no one reads the actual company corporate policy on per diems and reimbursements. Gen AI is something that can read that for you. And so you can say, hey, that dinner on Wednesday, is that in policy or not? And it can navigate that for you, right? Obviously, not everyone has the luxury of someone arranging their travel on their behalf. But with Gen AI, all of us can have an assistant that does that never gets tired, that remembers the last trip that we went on, right? So some of these are really quite, you could say, I don't want to use the cliche of low-hanging fruit, but these are well understood. But there's some others that are really change the way we engage with travel. So me as a product nerd, one of the things that I've enjoyed the most is optimizing that user flow that all of you have experienced, which is you get on a landing page, you select your dates, origin, destination, how many passengers, click, see search results, logos, schedules, click again, put in my details, payment gateway, yada, yada. So as a nerd, I've always loved getting into the data and seeing that funnel go through. But when you think about Gen AI, the problem with that user flow is it doesn't really sound too much like how you all talk about travel in the workplace. What really happens is you might say, that trip I did last month to go see my team, site X, I want the exact same flight. I want to stay at the same hotel. The one that leaves at 11 in the morning, the one that comes back at 5 p.m. But you have to go through the whole flow from the beginning. You could actually instead, through Gen AI, say, hey, can I get the same flight I took last time? And then it'll just serve it for you, and you can book that. That's one of the use cases that it bypasses that flow entirely. And for me, that's kind of the dangerously exciting part, which is, I lose a bit of access to something I love, which is nerding out over the data, but actually we're replacing it with something that's truly new. So when you think about, this is kind of what I was saying before, that some applications of Gen AI are purely about bringing Gen AI capabilities into our travel and expense world to make X number of things better. But others are about bringing travel and expense into your workplace, into your Microsoft workplace, into the workplace where you are looking at factory data, or you are looking at Internet of Things data. That's the work that you do. And depending on, so specifically Copilot is very exciting for the future of what it can do for that in travel. So I know that I'm the last thing standing, right, between us and the break. So thank you for listening to us about travel and Gen AI.
Thanks, Julián. And for the next half of the presentation, no, thank you, Julián, Ayora, and Matt. Really good use cases. I wanted to close with a couple of comments. Obviously, the potential of AI is very significant. But what we can see, and Julián mentioned this during his presentation, is the continuous learning, automatic learning that we can see with AI. We all have a job title, and of course, we do 12 different jobs, regardless of that job title. Now with AI, we can do 18. No, actually, now with AI, hopefully we can do 6, and the rest we can leave it for AI. But as you think about how you are going to implement your solution, I want to go back to the slide I was showing earlier. Whether you are in the design, in the build, or the operate phase of your journey, we have built a Microsoft Cloud. As I mentioned earlier, we have the tools ready to go within the cloud that you can utilize. But specifically to the design area or the build or the operate, there are ready-to-go tools that are already being launched and proven, and they are already live with multiple other partners. And it's important for you to be aware of those and utilize them as you need to. And of course, regardless of where you are in your journey, make sure that that your data is AI ready. A lot of data comes from multiple sources, even paper. It's important. Obviously, when we're talking about an agent that continuously learns, any type of data is important to teach the agent and obviously bring better insights. Make sure you pilot AI within your processes and make sure it's ready before you launch it. And of course, build your own copilots. The opportunities are infinite. And if you want to learn more, this is not a slide. What was this? Well, there were a few. Can we share the slide with the sessions? This is not a slide that we need to see. But scaling, differentiation, being able to leverage AI to go to market is also key. I was talking to a customer yesterday in a roundtable, and it was interesting how he mentioned that as they started talking about how they were going to execute AI, just during that particular brainstorming session, they realized that they were missing an opportunity to go to market with an offering that ended up is right now 20% of their revenue. And this only happened in a couple of years. So this is key. Not only does AI give you a competitive advantage, but also it creates new sources of revenues that you can exploit for many years to come. Thank you all. And now we're done for real. Let's go and have a drink. Thanks.